Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game 3 of the Vibing Kingdom Howling Abyss 5v5 tournament. We've made it to the grand finals. Here we will have the Frogs versus one of our own home teams, Vibing Noonquiver, face off in a best of two to determine the champion of the event. The event has run for about 2 weeks now. We completed the two semifinal matches about a week ago in the same weekend. During that weekend, the Frogs defeated the first Vibing team, Vibing Tiamat, and Vibing Noonquiver would defeat the other team, Club Agony. And so, across those two matches, we have determined our finalists, and we'll see the two of those teams compete once again tonight. Again, here's the bracket. We had the Frogs versus Vibing Tiamat. The Frogs would win 1-1 and win by turret rule. They had more turrets surviving across both games, and therefore they won. Afterwards, we had Club Agony versus Vibing Noonquiver. Excuse me. Vibing Noonquiver took the series 2-0 and advanced to finals to meet the Frogs. As a refresher for the rules of this event, we will be playing Howling Abyss. 1 lane, 4 turrets between you and the enemy, 1 nexus, and no recalls. You have to die in order to go back to shop. We'll be playing Draft Pick. Unlike the ARAM map traditionally, you get to choose your champions, and you can also ban your opponent's champions. And then lastly, you will have best of 2 games. To win it all, you have to win both games, or in a 1-1 tie, you have to complete a secret tiebreaker. If you've watched the previous streams of this event, you'll know that we had a turret rule in order to determine the victor of a series. If there was a 1-1 tie, then the person who would go on would be the person with more turrets alive. However, I've decided to change things up as I'd like to use a secret tiebreaker. There's a chance I never get to use this tiebreaker strategy again, and so I'd like to raise the option now. Looking back at the 4 games that we've played in this tournament, I compiled the stats for picks, bans, and presents. As you can see, these are all the champs that have been picked or banned in the event so far. And we'll update this. We'll see some updates to this once we play through Grand Finals. Among picks, you had a couple picks that were either picked twice in one series or picks that were picked in both series that we've had. Ezreal, Fiora, specifically, were picked both by the same people, and same with the Llune. Meanwhile, Malphite, Hui, Orianna, Renata, those were picked across the Frog and Agony series. And among the bans, you might notice a similar trend as well. And for presents, something interesting I'd like to point out about champion presents is that Malphite has been found in 3 out of 4 pick bans so far. The only game where he was not involved was Game 2 of Club Agony versus Vibing Noonquiver, I believe, in January 26. Yes. Now moving on to the action. Here we have all 10 players so far. We have all 10 players. I'm in the spectator box, and the players are probably waiting for me to give the go signal to start the series. And given the usernames of these players, I should do some updating. I'll update the rosters real quick that you see on screen. I'll now get back to the players in the lobby and ask if... First, I'll thank them for waiting. We're starting over a half hour behind schedule, but I greatly appreciate everyone's patience. I did say 6 p.m. Eastern time for these players to show up. Players are talking about soup. If anyone is watching this stream, what would your favorite soup be? I see the players talking about French onion, chicken dumpling, pho, lentil soup, potato soup, borscht. We have players who aren't ready, so we'll give them some time. I hope to be respectful of everyone's hours, because as the day goes on, people might get fatigued. So, understandably, I would want to wrap up this series before anyone started dozing off. And as we've experienced time and time again across all the tournaments that we've hosted at Vibing Kingdom, fatigue is a real strong force. We really have to plan around it. Previously, I would host best of 3s on Summoner's Rift, and an individual series could last 2 to 3 hours, and those series would be pretty wearisome. And so again, we are simply waiting. The person who will initiate this lobby for us will be BestAsianWill. They're currently party leader. I believe it may be best if one person collected the thoughts of all 5 players on their respective teams and reported back to me. And it looks like we're ready to go! Alright. Vibing will be taking blue side in game 1. We'll get to see the first bans of this series, the grand finals. I'm pretty happy that we made it this far. It gets very challenging to make sure that events carry through to the end. And we have our first ban, Amumu. Amumu was piloted by the Frogs in Game 1 of their series against Vibing Tiamat. To great effect. The Frogs did win that series. Meanwhile, Aphelios gets taken away from Vibing. Aphelios is a target ban. What will Vibing's response be? What will be their second ban of the series? In addition, it's important to clarify that in a Howling Abyss custom, if you choose the draft pick game mode, you will only have 3 bans for the entirety of pick ban. Once we complete this series of bans, we will not have any more bans. To get a second round of bans, we'd have to be playing tournament draft mode. Waiting. Now fight gets taken away. The 2 frontliners from game 1 against the Frogs are wiped off the board, Now Kindred gets taken away as well. Another target ban. And I'm guessing you guys already know which player on Vibing that is a target ban for, especially because we can see their nameplates right now, being on the blue side of the map. And now Thresh is the final pick to be removed from the Frogs. 3 playmakers, 3 frontliners, and 2 green people for the Frogs will be taken away from their champ pool. Now, lastly, the Frogs get their pick on who will be banned. So far, they've taken away 2 marksman champs, Aphelios and Kindred. We might see another carry ban, maybe a mage. Depends on how much scouting they've done on their opponents. Nico gets taken away, and now the ban's complete. And Vibing Noonquiver will take the first pick of the series. BestAsianWill is hovering. Important to note that you can swap picks and swap pick order in this series. Orianna gets hovered and taken for Vibing Noonquiver. That's the first pick of the finals. Meanwhile, Talon gets hovered. From what I understand, in the mid lane, Talon is a pretty good pick into Orianna, at least historically, because Orianna's base defense is so poor, and Talon is one of the burstiest champs in the early game. He's infamous for first bloods, hence all the memes that come about it. And his damage is so high that once he power spikes to level 2, he can't get solo kills in many matchups. Israel gets hovered instead. The Frogs have 1 second to pick their duo, and they lock in Ezreal Nautilus. Pretty solid, all-rounder, very safe. And now Vibing Noonquiver look to place their retort. Leona gets picked, and Samira gets hovered and locked in as well. We picked bot lane for bot lane, and this is an even Summoner's Rift. Veigar, Syndra get locked in, double AP for the side of the Frogs. We will be getting some burst. And so far the Frogs have range heavy lean, although with great close range peel. Twitch gets hovered on the side of Vibing. Twitch, Galio, and Poppy, the last bans of this series. Both teams, I would argue, have very balanced team comps, with maybe 1 pick changed in each team. I would believe that these are legitimate Summoner's Rift teams. They feel very balanced, they fit different niches. And they seem like very careful picks to me. No one locked these in just because. Unless that is what was going through the players' minds at the moment. As is normal for spectating games, we have to wait on a 3-minute delay. The players are already in the loading screen, if not loaded onto Howling Abyss. In the next 2 minutes. I'd like to imagine what will happen in the level 3 skirmish. Players start at level 3 in ARAM. We have lots of poke coming in from the side of the Frogs. They definitely have that strong suit, especially with the Ezreal, who has a 1200 range arcane, a Mystic shot. His Q has 1200 range. I believe that is as long as a Blitzcrank hook. And if used effectively, he can be one of the highest DPS champs in the game, but his skill ceiling is obviously very high. Meanwhile, the Frogs have a Wombo Combo team comp. Galio, Leona, and Oriana can definitely synergize with each other. Same with Samira and Oriana. They have great ball delivery mechanisms on the side of Vibing Noonquiver, and that might be the strategy they went for. To catch up everyone on the context behind this series, the Frogs have already defeated one Vibing team, and now they're faced off against our second Vibing team, Noonquiver. Meanwhile, Noonquiver came off a hot streak of winning 2-0 against their opponents, and they've now made it to finals with that momentum. But, as we saw from interviewing the Vibing players, their response to their state of mind at the time was they were just vibing. And I appreciate that from my players. I don't want to take sides, but obviously I'm the host for one of these teams. I'm excited to see what happens. Both these teams can get very competitive, as we've seen. They both also swapped one player due to availability changes. And it looks like we're about to swap from the League client to the League in-game. So once that happens, hopefully we'll load in very smoothly. I'm looking at Champ Select right now. I'll show you everyone's masteries, but given that this is a spectator view, we might go into the game very quickly. Here's everyone's skins. Look how pretty they all are. I play many of these champs, and of all the skins that you see here, I am a fan of T1 Oriana's. I remember nabbing that when it was first released, border and all. Now, I will do some actions here in order to full screen the game for us. Awesome. You see both teams. The Frogs have moved over to feed a Poro that's on the side of Vibing. And Vibing do the same. That Poro is getting very fed. That's a big old guy. Before any player gets killed, the Poro has to be fed. Now minions have spawned. Once the minions crash into the midsection of the map, that's when the violence begins. And the Poro's already exploded! I've not seen a Poro explode at level 3 before. Even in my custom games. Good work, everyone, indeed. We have the first poke coming out. As we see, the Frogs have a poke advantage. Meanwhile, Oriana's throwing away her Q and W as well. Lots of poke from Ezreal coming from the bottom side of the map. And now both teams have hit level 4. 2 more levels until everyone gets their ults. And that's when I believe a lot of the chaos will happen, especially on the side of Vibing. And a huge cage comes in from the Frogs, snaring 4 people. The Frogs keep on pushing, and they get an engage in, but GeneticIvy gets super low, and Samira swoops in and claims first blood for Vibing Tiamat. Gets stunned under turret and cannot claim the kill on the GreyMercury, who instead gives over the kill to the Nautilus GoblinWaltz. BestAsianWill flashes in, throws a Q, but misses onto the Frogs. Kindred Rainbow slays GreyMercury and flashes out. The sneaky little rat escapes. And Llune walks away with her life. The Frogs and Vibing both trade 2 kills. Still even now, but the Frogs have healthier HP bars to work with. Some more fighting happens as the health pack gets grabbed on the side of Vibing Noonquiver. And poke comes down as well. GoblinWaltz gets super low and has been poisoned by the rat. Ultimately, it looks like the Nautilus will survive. Syndra lands a pretty big stun and throws a bomb onto the Twitch and kills him. Meanwhile, BestAsianWill gets a taunt, lands it onto the Poppy, and GeneticIvy gets thrown airborne. Meanwhile, Anime696 on the Samira is able to fully stack that passive and gets the S rank, building up lots of attack speed. Anime, Llune, Will, looking for this health pack. Meanwhile, the frogs also looking towards their own health pack while the rat is harassing them and gets stunned and harassed and eradicated. Another kill for the frogs. Both teams pick up their health packs, and the kill total remains 3-4 in advantage of the frogs. Again, we still see lots of hostility. I see a full HP Nautilus and a high HP Leona. Those champions can go in and more in. They don't really have an escape button. And so they're very, very committal with their engages, most definitely. We have another engage come in from Leona as the players have at level 6. A huge cage comes in and disables the movement of Vibing, while a massive Galio ult knocks airborne multiple people as Samira gets multiple kills. Ultimately double kill for the Twitch, who is still spraying and praying and gets one shot onto the Ezreal, who survives, the only member of the Frogs to do so. And the kill total is now 7-5 in favor of Vibing. Vibing's members get the first shove, and they whittle down the first turret of the Frogs very heavily. Meanwhile, Syndra is looking for a big stun and catches 3 people with the EQ combo. Orianna throws down the Shockwave and catches 3 people. Meanwhile, Kindred gets killed on the Twitch, and the Frogs now have the momentum ready to shove into Vibing's turret and inflict their own damage. The Frogs lay siege. They've taken away about 1/6 of the turret's HP, and they walk away. Pretty healthy, I might add. BestAsianWill comes in with the snowball and throws down the taunt, while Samira follows up and dashes inwards to catch 4 people with her ult, getting a double kill before perishing. Next up, Meowriah is on a killing spree on the Veigar. That's a pretty nasty opponent if you are on the side of Vibing, because a fed Veigar can pop even the tankiest people. Although in this current meta, people have gotten really tanky. I gotta say. Now we have Galio sitting in the bush, looking to zone away the members of the Frogs, who are huddling together and staying close, remaining safe, and avoiding the engage ranges of the enemy, especially this Galio. I'll give everyone a look at people's items so far. We have Samira with the Collector. That's the first thing that caught my eye, and we have Twitch with Static Shiv and Ezreal with Triforce. With the Triforce finish, we can definitely see a lot of nasty poke from Rogue's Ezreal, a champion that they piloted twice in the series prior. More poke comes in. We have Veigar at 91 stacks right now. Some poke comes out, and Leona's looking to commit hard into an engage on the Ezreal. Lands a stun onto 2 people, but is ultimately killed. Meanwhile, Samira might be in danger as she's been caught. And Orianna Shockwave picks off 3 people, and so does the Samira ult, picking off 3 more people. GreyMercury pops the ADC right in front of them, and the Samira's engage is stopped, leaving Vibing 12-11 as Galio gets hooked right next to the Frog's turret and goes in for some more damage, eats about 3 turret shots, and takes a lot of damage, ultimately healing up to half HP. Another hook lands onto the Twitch, and the Nautilus is being whittled away by the poison. Meanwhile, the Frogs' reinforcements have arrived. They are pretty healthy. The stun almost connects and doubles onto the Veigar cage. The Ezreal ult flies out and catches the Galio with the True Shot Barrage. Both teams now, 5 members versus 4 in favor of the Frogs. Orianna clears the way, preventing further shove. A health pack is available for Vibing, and not yet for the Frogs. The Frogs instead push towards the blue side turret with their advantage, and Galio has respawned while GreyMercury looks to execute and give over a bounty to the Galio. Currently, both teams have reset the wave, and both teams are pretty healthy. We might not see a fight until all 5 members return again, And importantly, I'd like to highlight that all 5 of Vibing have their ults available, while 3 out of 5 for the frogs are available. We might see a big Heroes entrance play, coupled with the Llune. Might also be for the Samira, but if I were to take a risk and guess, it's going to come with the Llune, who goes in, combos with the Orianna's command Shockwave, and combos with the Spray and Pray, gunning down 3 members of the frogs almost effortlessly, as Samira dives in deeper and gets the 4th kill, and gets a 5th and final kill for Vibing. Triple kill for Anime's Samira, and ultimately first turret for Vibing. As long as they kill this turret, yes, they will. And they push towards the red side of the map, pushing farther and eventually stopping as these reinforcements from the frogs arrive. Looking at the progress for everyone, Llune gets hooked by the Nautilus. Meanwhile, Galio gets caught by the Poppy. And Orianna, crucially, snared by all the spells that you could think of from the frogs. Llune gets pulled in and killed. Syndra takes a kill onto her rival control mage Orianna. Kindred Rainbow has slain GoblinWaltz. And now Syndra is looking for more as her Arcane Comet nearly kills the anti-mage tank Galio. Vibing understand that they can't quite grab that health pack. It's not their property if they can't defend it so easily. Samira's wind wall deters the Ezreal, who Arcane shifts to safety. And now the teams continue their momentum, with the frogs clearly in the lead at this point. Positionally, 19-6 in kills in favor of Vibing. Vibing grab the health pack, which leaves their turret more vulnerable to an attack. But as it turns out, Llune goes in. No big engage started yet, but Llune does get a massive solar flare onto multiple people. Meanwhile, Syndra's ult gets some nice damage. Samira pops the barrier, which allows them to get a kill, but ultimately falls herself. The 2 people ulted away by the Poppy have since returned. Orianna gets an ult and catches 1 person, but ultimately falls herself. And Ace goes over to the frogs. Given their position, GoblinWaltz seems to be looking to execute, as they do lots of damage to this turret. Meowriah, GeneticIvy, both remaining. The Veigar gets taken down while Poppy burns some time and executes, successfully denying any gold at all to the members of Vibing Noonquiver. 23-21 in kills, about 11 minutes into the game, and these item builds are looking pretty strong now. Veigar has attained 2 items, and so has the Ezreal and Syndra. Another engage happens, mounted by Kindred Rainbow, but the Twitch gets poked down to about a 5th of his max HP. The assault continues. Nautilus' hook barely misses BestAsianWill, who sat at the edge of the bush. Vibing's minion wave has the push advantage, and they may look to strike another engage. Looking at the levels, both teams are even, and both teams have everything in their arsenal ready to go except for the Poppy ult, the Keeper's Verdict. Both teams now pretty uneasy, as any mistake from either side could spell the loss of the team fight. Pretty tense now. Twitch being half HP certainly doesn't help. The case of Vibing would be very advantageous if you were a Frogs member right now. Anime has attained level 13 on the Samira. Everyone else is level 12. Ori Ball gets passed around like a hot potato. You might be looking at a big shockwave engage with Leona's E. She misses the E, but she's still fishing for an engage, walking forward and out backwards and forwards and backwards. We continue with a very tense situation here. Health pack has spawned. We might see some violence here as people get crammed into a small area and look to engage on each other. A lot of eyes on this Leona, piloted by KillerRoboConner. Meanwhile, Syndra and Ezreal are throwing out the poke, whittling away the health bars of Vibing slowly but surely, and the True Shot Barrage does catch the Leona, bringing her to about a third HP, and Galio gets a big engage onto the Syndra, but the follow-up is denied. Meanwhile, the Orianna Shockwave is not denied as it sneaks behind and catches the melees of the frogs. Meanwhile, GreyMercury has managed to slay the Leona as the engage by Samira is halted instantly by the Scatter the Weak from GreyMercury, and the frogs push forward with a 5-person advantage, flashes forward in order to get a stun onto GreyMercury, but ultimately does not get a kill. Meanwhile, BestAsianWill is trapped in the midst of 5 people and cannot engage onto the Syndra. Meowriah has slain Llune and claims a kill for themselves, and double kill goes over to the Ezreal. The frogs have managed to play that fight beautifully and win 5-0. They continue with the push advantage, and they might get some damage off onto the inhib turret of the of Vibing Noonquiver. Frogs definitely have the advantage right now. They got the momentum, they got the kills, but they also have to die to spend those kills. As kills equal money, and money in your pocket doesn't exactly translate to money in your doesn't exactly translate to more damage until you recall. Both teams now continuing the back and forth pacing. You might see a heroic engage from the Galio. Might also see a big denial from the Veigar and Poppy. 2 Yordles. All the Yordles have very tricky kits, as you may notice. It's back and forth. There's damage. There's minions dying, but not players dying just yet. Both teams are in a pretty uneasy standstill. Looking for another big engage, a wombo combo from Vibing. Meanwhile, the frogs can play the patient game and scale up with that Veigar, that ticking time bomb, who at the moment has 208 stacks or 408 AP. Fully charged Rod of Ages as well. So that little Yordle is pretty tanky. The hook comes in from the Nocturne as a stun comes out, and big Orianna Shockwave catches 3 people. Many of these Ori Shockwaves have hit multiple people this game as Anime goes further into enemy territory and cleans up the rest of the frogs. The frogs may have gotten a 5-0, but Vibing will take a 1-5. Vibing are now poised to take the first inhib turret of the series, dealing lots of damage and making it crumble before their feet. Red turret has been destroyed. Anime is looking to execute and gives over a kill to inhib turret number 1, or Nexus turret number 1. GoblinWaltz goes in looking for an engage, gets taunted immediately upon arrival, and Leona's caught. She's not long for this world as she's being stunned longer than she can stun other people. The Orianna is being pushed around, grabs the health pack at the last second, but that measly amount of health is not enough to save the squishy control mage, and she perishes on the giving away the gold to the frogs. And now Galio gets caught as well, and the frogs are standing at the doorstep of the inhib turret for Vibing Noonquiver, ready to take this turret as well. It's a pretty close series, 28-30. The kill lead has now gone over to the frogs for the first time in this game. Blue turret gets wiped away. Inhib looks like it will be destroyed as well, and yes, Noonquiver may have taken the first inhib turret, but the frogs went all the way and took the first inhib. And now the first inhib has been taken away. This is a very close game. Extremely close match. True Shot Barrage comes in and thins the wave, dealing some damage to Orianna as well. Ropes continues the onslaught of Mystic shots, throwing Qs every max cooldown of 3 seconds exactly on the dot. And for every Q that Ezreal lands, his other spells reduce in cooldown, including his ult. Ezreal continues firing away. Syndra picks up a minion. Galio and Poppy get super close, and Veigar throws down a cage. It doesn't stun anyone, though. It does get some zoning. GoblinWaltz gets caught, and Vibing are now pushing towards the red corner of the map as the Keeper's Verdict pushes away the Twitch, but not the Orianna, who manages to land the Shockwave ball all the way into the back line of the Frogs. A triple kill goes over to Samira, and now the last person, the Veigar, the squishy dashless mage in 2025, has to survive against two champions with dashes, and it looks like he'll do that very well, even throwing in a snowball and throwing down a cage looking to get a kill. Meanwhile, Vibing has smashed the turret, leaving the structure total even, completely dead even in this series. Level 17 goes to the Veigar, as Vibing look to destroy the first Nexus turret. Syndra lands a stun onto 4 people as the Scatter of the Weak pushes that orb into the ranks of Vibing, and now Vibing are on the escape as Nautilus scarcely misses a snowball. Double kill goes over to Syndra in the back, while Samira cannot deal enough damage to kill 2 tanks, or can she? She does not. Orianna Shockwave does buy some time and makes the Nocturne Nautilus low, but the Nautilus manages to point the Depth Charge right at the Robot Lady and get a double kill for the Poppy. 32-34 now, 19 minutes in this first game. We're looking at a very exciting series. Vibing have 2 members left, one a tank, one a marksman, and the Frogs are marching 5 people strong into the Nexus turrets of Vibing. The blue side turret, number 1, may fall very soon. It does not at this moment. Static Shift comes on to multiple people as Twitch gets a lot of damage, and with that long auto range snipes the Veigar from far away before Robes claims the kill. If you were to force me to make a prediction on who would win this game, I honestly couldn't tell you. Both teams are playing extremely well, stupendously well. They're very skillful, and I definitely respect what they've brought to the table. Both teams now getting their 4th items, 3rd or 4th items, depending on what role you play. We're getting close to the end game for both teams' champions. Unless someone's got a Gathering Storm, I don't believe there are any infinite stackers. We do have Leona with Heartsteel. Ooh, we have Leona and Nautilus staring each other down pretty menacingly. Must be very scary to be put in this position, given how late the game is. Everyone deals so much damage to structures that losing a team fight now, so close to anyone's turret, could signal the end of the game. Galio gets a big taunt off as a snowball comes in from Leona, who manages to find herself all the way in the back line of the Frogs. Throws down Solar Flare, which is parried by the Arcane Shift. GeneticIvy holds off the carries while Kindred Rainbow explodes instantly as 2 mages focus their R buttons onto them. And now the fight is still close, 4 versus 4, as GeneticIvy holds off multiple members but ultimately falls. And the members of the Frogs are looking very unhealthy right now. Vibing not so much better. Nautilus falls. Meanwhile, the engage is big, and Anime falls as well. The hero's entrance comes down. Veigar walks out of the circle. Double kill comes over to Ezreal. And now Ezreal's looking for a triple, maybe even a quadra with those long-range bullets. Galio comes in and throws a Q, claims the kill onto Ezreal. And now low health Galio versus full HP Veigar. Not very favorable for the tank, even though he is he is an anti-mage. He's doing a fair amount of damage, 1/5 so far, and he's living for a pretty long time. He now meets someone his own size and gets picked off by Veigar following up on the Poppy. Kindred Rainbow comes back into the scene. Invisible throws some poison, then walks away. I've been forcefully kicked out of this lobby, but I will rejoin very soon. And now we're back. I hope everyone's been enjoying the stream so far. I've definitely had a lot of fun watching this series. I understand that this series is currently being held in the very middle of the week, but I feel that this was the most flexible we could be for these players. And plus, we're seeing some new faces. Always fun to see some new players. Oh, back and forth happens between Noonquiver and the frogs. I'm seeing red health bars and low health bars. The red ones are more clumps. The blue ones are, well, clumping. Here it is. An uneasy standstill. Not quite a ceasefire. There's still lots of explosions happening. Both teams' inhibs have respawn, so no one has to deal with the push of super minions anymore. At least until the game ends. Snowball lands, but is not taken by the Galio. People are hitting close to full build, if not already full build. Samira with her 20 kills definitely has enough. Leona engaged, comes on to Robes, who gets stun locked by the Leona. No one else can follow, though, and Poppy is holding off the carries of Vibing. Meanwhile, Meowriah is super low, and Shutdown comes over to the Leona, who slashes down the purple mage Yordle. Meanwhile, Poppy is doing her best, holding off the carries, delaying them for super long time, as the Orianna Shockwave only hits her alone. But ultimately, the Samira dashes in and claims a double kill, triple kill even, with the Nautilus slain. An ace goes over in favor of Vibing, and it looks like they will take game 1 of this series. Ace goes over for Vibing. Total kills, 42 to 42. We're dead even. The goal difference is only 3,000. GG's from both sides, and congratulations to both teams' players. Right now, Vibing stand in the lead. It is an amazing series. Very good work from everyone. And as the players cool down and get ready for game 2, I'm going to take a water break. And I encourage anyone watching this stream to do the same as well. According to studies, men need about 3.7 liters of water a day. I believe that is 5, 6, 7 water bottles a day. And women need about 2.7 liters of water a day. This is approximately 4, 5, 6 bottles of water a day. So it's good to stay hydrated. Absolutely. I'm very happy to be able to host this event. Couldn't have done it without any of these players. I'll get in contact with everyone. Because the Frogs did not take Game 1, they will have the advantage of picking side selection for Game 2 of this series. It is very, very close. This game, honestly, I could have flipped a coin and it would have been just as accurate as me trying to analyze the situation and telling you who would have won. Both teams are highly capable. At the end of all this, the team that wins will earn $5 RP for every player on their roster. It's a small incentive. It's not a huge amount, and you can't really buy a whole lot with $5 of RP in isolation, but maybe you had some RP left over and it carries enough to swing you into the price range of a skin that you want. Who knows? Alright, so enough talking. I'm now going to get the players into the lobby. For all these custom lobbies, I set a password, but none of the players have to guess the password. They are free to be invited. currently I'm getting the players back into the lobby. And now, for anyone who stepped away or may have just started the stream, Vibing Noonquiver has taken the series 1-0, being in the lead. Vibing destroyed all turrets, of course, in order to win, while the frogs destroyed 2 turrets, nearly destroying the first Nexus turret. However, the turret roll has been suspended for this series. I have done so because if the series goes 1-1, I'd like to make things a little exciting by holding the secret tiebreaker that I talked about all the way in the first series between the frogs and Vibing Tiamat. I'll take a short break of my own, and then once I get back, I'll reel in the players and ask if anyone's ready. I have returned. Now I'll ask the players. The soundtrack playing right now is Senna's theme from when she was released. I've created a playlist of various songs in Riot's creator-friendly playlist on Spotify. This song is specifically... these tracks are specifically identified by Riot as being safe to use as long as proper credit is given. asked for individuals if they were ready. Now I'll ask the teams collectively if they're ready. Frogs ready? Vibing ready? Because I'm ready. And we're starting! Awesome, awesome. GreyMercury will be banning on behalf of the Frogs. Samira gets taken away. An adaptive ban, learned from the last game. Samira was pretty impactful, picked up over 20 kills. Huge performance from Anime. And now, Vibing. Who will they take away? Amumu gets removed. He will not make an appearance in this series, as it seems the lessons were learned from Game 1 of the Frogs versus Vibing Tiamat. Aphelios gets removed, another marksman. Aphelios will not be making an appearance at all this series. Malphite gets removed as well. These bans are looking mighty familiar, as they are a mirror of first game. And now Pyke taken away. That's the last ban for the Frogs in their time in this tournament. And what will Vibing Noonquivers be? Will they play in the finale? The last game of this tournament, Game 2. Unless we get to the secret tiebreaker, this will be the last game of the entire tournament. Grenades banning on behalf of Vibing Noonquiver. One thing I'd like to note is there are a couple former champions from the past tournaments in this series. Specifically, GreyMercury and Llune are champions from the previous 5v5 tournament. Syndra gets removed. Seems she was pesky enough that Vibing had to ban her and make it an adaptive ban. It's important that you learn in League. You don't have to do it perfectly every time. And now Orianna gets picked for the Frogs. Orianna's been piloted by GreyMercury already, although given the mages that we've seen from the Frogs, we may have that pick be swapped around. Not that swaps are extremely important in a Howling Abyss match, as we all play in one lane. And so Vibing get to reply with their first duo. Karma gets hovered. And what will Karma's duo be, assuming that she gets locked in? Karma Senna, two pretty squishy champs with lots of peel, very supportive. I'll be seeing higher damage, or maybe even some frontliners soon. GeneticIvy robes. They might not be locking in champs for themselves, but they'll be locking in champs for the Frogs. The Frogs, if they take this series, will force a tiebreaker, and if they win that, they will sweep 2 Vibing teams in their own home turf. Meanwhile, if Vibing take this series, they will have overcome both of the guest teams that have joined this tournament. I'd like to say thank you again to the guest teams. Nautilus Victor picked in. Very interesting picks. All of those 3 champs from the Frogs have lots of AoE. I love it. Brings a lot of action, and it definitely makes it harder to cast as I try to rack my brains around the wordplay I can do for those champions. But I love the challenge, and now Morgana will challenge the Frogs, it seems, as long as that champion gets locked in. What we see here, Galio gets locked in again. Morgana gets picked. We're seeing a pretty AP-heavy lineup for Vibing Noonquiver, although the anti-AP champ Galio is on their side. And now, what will the Frogs pick? So far, they have a double mage team with a tank. All of them have AoE CC. Cho'Gath gets locked in. That's a pick we saw from the first series with the Frogs against Tiamat. GoblinWaltz now. You're the last one up, buddy. What will you pick for the Frogs? Last pick of the entire series. Jinx. Alrighty. Jinx, Cho'Gath, Victor, Nautilus, Orianna. That's the lineup we'll see from the Frogs, and I'd like to see them perform very well on it. Twitch gets hovered. Twitch would be peeled very well from his team, which is effectively 3 supports and a tank. Every one of his teammates could be locked into the support role legitimately, lane normally, and roam normally and win. And now Twitch does get confirmed. We have our lineup for all 5 players now. Karma, Senna, Galio, Morgana, Twitch. What a lineup from Vibing. Alright, I am interested. What are these players going to pull out? Or rather, what are these players going to do with the things they've revealed? Of course, we gotta wait for the 3-minute spectator delay. Although, as we saw last time, if you give it a couple seconds before the game actually starts, then we'll load into the loading screen. I'm definitely very happy with this tournament. I hope the players are happy as well, regardless of any shakeups that may have occurred. Ooh, that was pretty loud. I apologize, everyone, for that Windows notification. Soon, 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 soon. We'll get in game. 2 minutes. Vibing don't have as much of a wombo combo team comp as they had the last game. Meanwhile, the Frogs have definitely brought it onto their side with Orianna, Nautilus, and Victor. You could argue Cho'Gath and Jinx, whether follow-up or initiators, they are all great with each other. Personally, if I were to play in a team with these picks, then I would play the team that's picked what... If I were to prefer a certain draft, I would prefer the Frogs draft. They seem more well-balanced, while Vibing has some weaknesses in being kind of heavy on the magic damage. Although that's not to say that it's impossible to win or lose with either of their drafts. As we have seen in this event, team comp is extremely, extremely important in Howling Abyss. If you thought it was big in Summoner's Rift, it is arguably 80% of the game, I would say, in ARAM. And feel free to disagree. I'm no ARAM expert or anything. 1 minute until the spectator delay ends. T minus 56 seconds. We got some nice music playing, at least I appreciate it. Right now we're listening to Neela's theme, The Joy Unbound. Composed by Riot Games, yes. We're waiting and waiting. Less than half a minute left. Oh, we're almost there, everyone. The Frogs versus Vibing Noonquiver. Last match of the entire tournament. Here we go! We're entering. And I'm loading. Oh, I see the black screen right now. Once I see some pixels indicative of League of Legends, I'll let you guys know. And here it is! The pixels. Again, I appreciate everyone's skins. We've loaded in game already. GeneticIvy on the side of the Frogs has asked everyone, feed blue side Poro. That what we're doing. We may have an agreement. We got lots of shiny champions this game. Also didn't expect to see the color green so much. I guess it's just the Guardian aura effects activating. And now the Poros explode! Congratulations, everyone. We popped a Poro. I believe the only Poros pops in the entire tournament are in this series. So the 2 games that we are witness to, those are the only Poros that have exploded. And I guess Poros are happy to do that. Alright, the minions are about to come and we might see some violence. First poke comes in from Jinx, second from Orianna. Galio walks forward with the taunt, but doesn't hit anyone. Meanwhile, Twitch gets knocked airborne and loses about 60% of his HP and has to flash away to safety lest he give away first blood at by minute 20 of the game. Level 4 comes over to the Frogs, and they're definitely playing pretty fierce right now. Both teams seem very evenly matched. Cho'Gath gets a knock up, and Nautilus gets a knock in as he dashes forwards. His health bar is being obscured now by BestAsianWill, who walks away with pretty low HP. Orianna throws down the orb again as the root comes onto the Jinx, who does a lot of damage to the Morgana. Vibing these early levels might not be looking too hot as you got people who want to scale and you have 2 marksmen who want to be peeled for. Meanwhile, the Frogs, they're just pushing forward. They don't have to scale, but they definitely can scale. Doing lots of poke right now. This double mage team comp is working wonders for these amphibious allies. Moving back and forth. Cho'Gath throws down knock up onto 3 people, and Nautilus sees this as the go button and burns the flash of Llune on the Karma. Level 5 now for Vibing. We're getting close to our ults, and we might see a big Heroes entrance, although we don't have a Leona or someone of adjacent quality engaging for the engaging before the Galio does. GreyMercury will pick up the health pack and recover some HP for the Frogs. Some more poke goes out, and we definitely see the which team is in the lead in this early game. To give an update on our infinite stacker here, Senna has 12 souls. Root comes down onto Cho'Gath, and more firepower gets thrown at the giant monster, who walks away with half HP. Hook comes in onto Galio, who receives the black shield that gets popped by the double mage team comp, and Senna gets some more autos down. A lot of damage now. And still no kills. 3 minutes and 33 seconds into the game. Both teams are playing too patiently for first blood to have occurred. We have a lot of damage now. Hook comes out and catches the Twitch. Knockup does not land onto him. Meanwhile, the taunt does land onto Cho'Gath, who gives away first blood to the Morgana. KillerRoboConner takes first blood of Game 2 on behalf of Vibing Noonquiver. Now GoblinWaltz is walking forward, still fishing for more damage and engage. Level 6 gets hit by Vibing. That's pretty dangerous. Meanwhile, Meowriah and Robes. And now GreyMercury and GoblinWaltz hit level 6. Both teams right now may want to head over to heal. Vibing more so than the Frogs. And Cho'Gath here has nabbed his first feast stack. That ult won't be available, but it's got a pretty low cooldown. And Cho'Gath is another infinite stacker, yes. Super tanky champion. Here we have the Frogs looking to recuperate. And again, we're going to have a pretty slow early game. We're just about 5 minutes in, and only one person has died after a long protracted fight, preceded by even longer poking and healing between both teams. We're not going to see a lot of dying. Except Nautilus does land the snowball into auto attack into Hook, and now the death charge snaps a lot of people in, and the Orianna shockwave catches 3 people. Double kill goes over to the Jinx, who is excited and guns down the remaining members of Vibing as GeneticIvy claims a kill onto Anime on the Senna. Jinx flashed away and survived with barely any HP at all, as Llune will be the last to fall before the Cho'Gath is claimed by the turret. Now Kindred Rainbow comes back, and it looks like he's ready to get a triple kill of his own, but is stunned by the gravity well of Victor. He sees 2 champions now. No dashes on either one. One's been recently prettied up, given a small rework. Having played with and against Victors, I have seen that ult get super huge. And now we have another engage. GoblinWaltz goes in, throws a hook, but I don't think the Frogs have all the spells they need, and KillerRoboConner slays Meowriah with the burn damage from the Morgana pool. And now Nautilus falls as well by the hand of the Senna, and Twitch is still pumping out the damage. That's a pretty dangerous creature, and the poison does kill GeneticIvy's Cho'Gath. Get more damage down. The frogs still have more damage dealt to the turret, but again, even game. And it looks like I was wrong about the early game, at least this phase of the game. We're getting kills now, 12 kills. That's 2 per minute, but compressed in the past 3 minutes. We're seeing a possible engaged fish, and Orianna Shockwave catches one person. Meanwhile, Kindred Rainbow's on a killing spree as he picks up a 3rd kill onto the Orianna. So far, the game hasn't blown open quite yet, as I don't believe either team has hit the necessary power spikes to really rampage through this game. Gonna see a very close series as the Flash Death Charge catches multiple people. Morgana gets locked down so much that she cannot be dashed to by the hero's entrance. Meanwhile, Jinx, excited, follows up on the Cho'Gath triple Q and guns people down before being shielded and walking away. Now, Orianna shields herself and doesn't take any damage afterwards. The Super Mega Death Rocket flies and smacks the Galio inside that bush, a blind projectile, and gives the Jinx a killing spree. 8 to 9 in kills right now, in favor of Vibing still, but again, we have a hook narrowly evaded, and for good measure, the Orianna Black shields herself. Now Twitch looks for something, throws out some poison, and rejoins his team. Another snare hits the Nautilus, and then another snare follows up as well. Importantly, Nautilus cannot hook if he is rooted. He is the only hook champ in which this is the case, as his hook is a dash. Ooh, nasty Victor poke comes onto the Morgana. This is where the poke comp of the frogs really comes in handy, and now a big engage comes in from Vibing. The Gravity Well gets a stun onto the Galio, who can't do a whole lot except go in and do more damage. Meanwhile, GreyMercury's ult will find them all and catch 4 people of Vibing, sweeping them off the ground. Meanwhile, Anime is on a rampage as he picks up the 4th kill for that multi-kill. BestAsianWill has slain GeneticIvy, and suddenly it is the frogs who are on the back pedal. As Vibing push forward with their advantage, the Gravity Well comes out and stuns the entire minion wave, likely to be decimated by the Victor Jinx combo, followed up by Orianna, and now Vibing have to back away. Meanwhile, the frogs, celebrating their defense, have to be careful of another engage. The Jinx rocket comes out and smacks a Twitch, gets him pretty low but doesn't kill him. Cho'Gath pushes forward, suppressing the backliners for Vibing. Looking to get an execute, maybe. The feast is available, walks away. Ultimately, the Chaos Storm comes out in the middle of Vibing's formation, preventing the red side team from grouping up, and GeneticIvy ultimately gets a feast stack onto the Twitch. KillerRoboConner slays the Nautilus, and Vibing are on the retreat as they have to heal up and have to give up this health pack, as they have no tanky members who can approach it in time. I love seeing the compositional advantages being used by both teams very well. The double tank roster by the Frogs is working excellently, as one tank can absorb some aggro while the other goes on the offensive. Meanwhile, for the Vibing team, they're definitely very tricky to engage on, but they also only have one melee, the Galio. And Galio is also great at following up, but when you have someone like Karma, Morgana, Twitch, Senna to ult on top of, that's usually ulting in defense, not offense. Galio goes forward, but his stun gets interrupted by the Cho'Gath blocking him, and now Robes gets massive amounts of damage down as the Orianna Shockwave picks off even more people before GeneticIvy gets a kill onto the Twitch. And now GoblinWaltz throws a hook and catches the last member of Vibing, giving the Jinx a triple kill and securing the Frogs their first turret of this game. Looking at everyone's items, people are at their 1.5 to 2 item power spikes right now. Kills distributed In a way that you might expect, Morgana gets another kill, slaying GoblinWaltz. Meanwhile, Robes falls, executing to the enemy in order to buy some items. And now Jinx, Runon's Hurricane. Victor gets picked off as he walks up and gives over a double kill to the Twitch. We're seeing more and more power spikes right now. Luckily, the replay client shows you all the legendary items that people finish, not just a select few that you would in a normal game. Being inside a normal game. Vibing focus their all onto this turret, but cannot crack it just yet as the frontliners for the Frogs push forward. Gallo gets super low and gets hunted down by GreyMercury as Cho'Gath looks for more damage with the snowball onto the rat and throws up a knock-up that catches the Twitch once again, letting him be gunned down and letting the Morgana be caught by Victor, who takes the kill. Vibing right now have to defend very carefully, as given the power of the Jinx, she can easily shred that turret and the inhib right behind it. Frogs come back and celebrate, being able to pick up both their health packs and remaining very healthy. That's exactly what you want from all 5 of your players, just to remain very healthy. Now, looking at everyone's spells, Orianna Shockwave is available. It looks like Nihilus is looking for an engage. The Deft Charge is prepped. So, Hook is maybe not necessary. Galio brings down some storms to damage the enemy. Morgana throws a Dark Binding and catches the Nautilus. Cho'Gath's knockup misses, but the Cho'Gath knockup is not a very long cooldown spell. 5.22 seconds right now. Ooh. Cho'Gath throws down a knockup and catches the Twitch. No follow-up though. Our Vibing have to weather the poke, while the Frogs can keep on throwing it with their double mage team comp, similar to last game. Flash ult comes out, the Orianna Shockwave catches one person, the Senna gets caught as the Chaos Storm starts zoning away the Marksman support champion, as BestAsianWill pushes forward and forces the flashes of multiple people from the Frogs. Kindred Rainbow survives long enough for the hero's entrance to be buffered and land onto 2 members of the Frogs as the fight continues being very back and forth. Two people now surviving for the Frogs. Robes has to flash away. The Jinx escapes with her life as Senna and Karma look for more. Senna pushes forward super far and the Karma is eventually killed. And it looks like the Nautilus will catch the Senna